Hello, my name is Tika, and I'm going to give a presentation on my action research proposal. Here's an explanation of the problem. I went from teaching adults to teaching children in a kindergarten through 8th grade setting as a substitute teacher, and I immediately noticed it was much harder to get and retain students' attentions when presenting my lessons. I asked regular teachers that teach as a long term permanent teacher, and they told me it wasn't just a substitute teacher problem, albeit more pronounced. It was also a problem for them as well. Because the students weren't engaged, I believe students opted to misbehave. The misbehaviors including throwing objects, talking, fighting, doing other tasks like coloring or reading a book that wasn't a part of the assigned task. Additionally, since I'm not their regular teacher, I feel that students had a lack of respect for me and took advantage of the fact that I'm not completely familiar with the regular teacher's rules. For example, some teachers don't allow students to use the computer at certain times or go to the bathroom at any time that they wish. So here are my action research steps. Area of focus, participants, variables, negotiations, research questions, locus of control, data collection, ethics, intervention, timeline, statement of resources. So my area of focus statement is increasing student engagement in order to curtail uh, negative behaviors. So the participants, I can't talk. The participants in this study were third grade students because I had a long-term teaching assignment in third grade. So they're third grade students, ages 8 and 9. I had a mixed ability of students. I had one student with major negative behavior issues. I had 4 students with minor negative behavior issues. I had 3 English language learners, and I had 5 students with IEPs, individual learning plans. Variables. A variable, defined by Mills, 2014, page 70, a characteristic of your study that is subject to change. Identifying the variables are important to know and understand prior to your action research so that the research efforts won't be stifled but can be handled appropriately. The variables in this study include tools of engagement, equipment, and internet access, for example. As many teachers know, equipment breaks down, internet connections fail, creating a sense of panic, or it hinders the flow of the class. Another variable is student or student's mood. Sometimes students don't come in ready to learn. Some come in sleep deprived, hungry, sick, or dealing with a personal issue. At times, there are school events that excite students, like dances or assemblies, which are an asset to students. However, the excitement may distract them from engaging in the classroom. Another factor is attendance. A student that doesn't attend school regularly falls behind, and is usually confused, concerned with keeping up, or gives up on any engagement because he or she is behind. Negotiations. There aren't any foreseeable negotiations since the study is where names and videos of the participants aren't released, they're anonymous, so no permissions will be needed. The only potential obstacles are in the variables. When identifying the problem, a few questions should be asked to guide the development of the questions. Ference, 2000, page 10, has some things that we should take into consideration when formulating research questions. So it should be a higher order question, not a yes no. Be stated in common language, no jargon. Be concise, be meaningful. So my first question for my research was, how can I engage students for the duration of the lesson? The next question, how can I reassure students that the rules and procedures are the same, although I am not their regular teacher? Research question number 3. How can I prevent or better manage student behavior issues through student engagement? Locus of control. So I determined that the locus was my control because of the factors that I have set internally will decide the success or failure of the research. I believe that teachers set the tone for learning uh, in the environment. Although students can alter the tone, it's up to the teacher to reset and get everybody back on track as best as he or she can. So, the data collection. So I will use quantitative and qualitative techniques to collect the data. I will use daily notes because it'll help me pinpoint strategies that will increase engagement with the desired amount of time. I will have the students complete a self survey. This self survey will create an awareness with the students about their engagement in class with their regular teacher and the substitute teacher. And I will give them this with a scale from 1 to 5. The reason I chose this tool is, as I said before, to bring awareness to the student about the difference in their behavior, but to also collect the data, analyze it, and by that come up with more precise solutions. Additionally, I will look at archival records. I will look at archival records to see what teachers have done in the past, maybe past needs and alterations. I will write daily reflections um, just to keep it fresh on my mind, um, all of the data. And I'll also use video because you can't remember everything that you see in class. So if you use a video, it'll help you to see other things that you've missed. Additionally, the video will be for my personal use only. I will not release this information to the public. Ethics. So Mill states that all research studies involve ethical considerations. Therefore, all research must be aware and attend to the ethical considerations of their studies. Uh, that's 2004, page 27. As a result, ethical considerations will be upheld. Since I'm dealing with minors, those feelings may be sensitive and delicate. Researchers should not expose students to risk to protect students from embarrassment or ridicule. For this reason, all students shall remain anonymous and keep the student free from any embarrassment, perceived or real harm. As I said before, any video recordings for this research will be for personal use only and not for public view. Additionally, I plan to avoid bias. To avoid biases, I plan to review several different resources from different sources to find common facts. In doing this, I will avoid biases because the more valid the sources are, the less likely for personal bias. Additionally, the students will have input in giving a truer representation of the data because the students are more aware of what engages them. Intervention innovation. When planning an intervention in innovation, Mills, 2004, page 71, suggests that teachers should describe what you're going to do to improve the situation you have described with I will statements. So for mine, I will create and implement a curriculum with activities that increase student engagements. The interventions in this study will be fueled by literature reviews, classroom texts, and my action plan. Timeline. So for the timeline, I chose a 12-week study because I think that's a sufficient amount of time to collect the data and go through all the steps. So phase 1 is week 1 and 2. So in this phase, I will inform the students of the plan and what I expect to get out of them, classroom engagement. Telling the students about my plan and gaining feedback from the students about what work will help me make determinations of what works and what doesn't. For the first 2 weeks, it'll be kind of like a trial and error period. I'll try out methods of engagement, take notes, modify, and review. So phase 2 will be weeks 3 through 10, excuse me. During this period of time, I will use the methods and activities that have been proven to be more effective or most effective and track the effectiveness using notes, reflections, student surveys, and all the other data. I will note on dramatic upwards or downward trends in data as well as the number of behavior disruptions. In weeks 7 through 10, I will continue to track data with the aforementioned methods and make changes depending on the results in data. So phase 3 will be 11 and 12. So here I'll finish up the research, write down any conclusions from my methods and strategies, what has worked, what has failed, and write down a final reflection piece. I chose this 12-week study because I believe this is a sufficient amount of time to gather reliable data. Statement of resources. The resources that I'll need to conduct this research are materials to record data, so for example, a video recorder, paper, writing utensils, materials to record student survey answers, and material to write daily notes. In addition to that, I will need a device with internet access and of course the students and time to put into the research. Here's my references. That concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for your time, and feel free to leave any feedback that might be helpful.